what did we just witness? On the road, a massive underdog, and Tyrese Haliburton, who had been struggling all game as I had predicted would happen, comes up and delivers clutch like he's done countless times this series or this playoffs. And that's where we're going to start today, because Tyrese Haliburton, a rough game for him. The Pacers took him out of the play on almost every possession, doubling him, made him get the ball out of his hands. The Pacers went to Andrew Nembhard down the stretch because they knew that Tyrese Haliburton, not that he'd been struggling when he had the ball, but he just wasn't an option because the Thunder just eliminated him. And yet, with the game on the line, they steal the biggest win all season with just an unbelievable shot. Right? There's probably 7 seconds left. Tyrese Haliburton gets the rebound. Rick Carlisle does not call a timeout. Just in case you missed the shot, you still have a timeout to, foul and get the ball back. And Tyrese Haliburton, with 3 seconds left, rises up and drains the mid-range to go up one. Right, 0.3 seconds left. Thunder throw it away on a lob pass attempt to try and win the game. But the story of this game is just the resiliency, right, of this team, because it doesn't start off great, right? It starts with 19 turnovers for the Thunder in the first half, right? And that's what I thought I was going to be talking about in this reaction after in the third quarter or so, when this game was a 15 or so lead. And it's not like the Pacers were ever going away, but it just seemed like the turnovers came at just the worst times. But Tyrese Haliburton, the Indiana Pacers, like they've done all season, I never should have doubted them. They find a way with under 5 minutes to go to come back and steal a huge win. But we'll start with the turnovers and we'll work our way to the final moments of this game. The first half, right, 18 turnovers, right? They were lucky to only be down 12 at the half, right? You have SGA, which we'll talk about in a second, but he was cooking. And the Pacers, they shot better than the Thunder in this game from 2. They shot better percentage from the Thunder from threes. Like they shot almost 46% on threes, 18 of 39. That is ridiculous, right? And I don't know if they'll shoot that well again, but they sort of had to, right? Because of how many turnovers they were giving away in that first half. And it wasn't even, turnovers caused by, well, obviously it was turnovers caused by the Thunder defense, but it wasn't direct, like, stealing the ball. It was a lot of, late shot clock, and they're trying to make one last desperate pass and they throw it for a backcourt violation, or they throw it and it gets stolen. A lot of throwing the ball down low into traffic. That's never going to work against a Pacers defense, right? A couple times in the first half, Tyrese Haliburton, Pascal Siakam tried to feed it to Miles Turner in the post, right? But there's 3 guys swarming around the Miles Turner, right? 3 Thunder defenders. You're never going to get that if you're going to throw it low. At least throw it high if you want to make that pass, right? And it was a lot of iso ball, a lot of not shooting corner threes, which the Thunder give up the most of. Right, that's their one weakness, the 3-pointers, and they found a way to get it in the second half, which we'll talk about second. But it felt like as we move on to the second half here, it was going to be more of the same, right? A lot of quick turnovers, and the Thunder took it from what was a 12-point lead to up to like a 15-point lead, but it never got more than that. And it started to feel like the Thunder were just gonna turn it on a second notch in that second half, like they've done for almost every game this series, and yet that just did not happen because of, you know, I would say the bench players for the Pacers, right? Miles Turner knocking down 5 3-pointers. Toppins with some incredible 3-pointers after a sloppy first half in terms of the turnovers, right? He was a major problem with the turnovers in the first half, giving them away, throwing them away. But, he redeemed himself in the second half, knocking down some huge shots. Neesmith guarding SGA, and, we'll talk about SGA because he got his numbers for sure. But they went with, a little bit different of a strategy that they thought. And whether I don't know if that was them just not being able to guard SGA, but they did went with the strategy of let SGA score his and guard everyone else, and it worked. But SGA was obviously super efficient, which is why had I mean I don't know. I don't know how this team is so clutch in the key moments. They're a young team. Tyrese Haliburton is pretty young in this league, but he has become maybe the greatest clutch player in the game right now. But as for the second half here, the bench players, because Pascal Siakam, right, just 19 points. Tyrese Haliburton just 14 points. Like they didn't do much, but it was guys like Neesmith with 10 points. It was guys like Nimhard with 14 points. Guys like Miles Turner with 15 points on 5 threes, like I mentioned. It was guys like Obi Toppin with 17 points coming off the bench. Just a huge production from him. Rebounding the ball, right? Not letting the Thunder get second chances. So that it was just insane to watch what just went down for maybe the fifth time this playoffs. Basically pulling a win out of midair for the Pacers. But we'll talk about what SGA was able to do. Right, he had a brilliant game. Right, he had. I'm looking here. Right, 38 points. 14 of 30, which is not almost 50% efficiency. 3 of 6. He knocked down some ridiculous 3-pointers as well. Some of these shots were just highly contested. Nothing like what the Pacers were doing. Right, the Pacers were every one of their shots was contested, but they're shooting like 48% in these playoffs. So, and they're used to that right now. But SGA, right? I think the difference was in this game just 8 free throws, right? And whether that was I didn't think it was the refs not calling things. I just thought the Pacers did a excellent job of staying off of not fouling him, letting him get his points, right? But it came mostly in the first half, right? He has like 19 points in the second half. And obviously, he ties that 38 points for the game. But it felt like at least for the third quarter, right? So the first part of the second half, he had slowed down. I think he only had like 28 points by the time the half was over, right? And then obviously early in the fourth quarter, it felt like he was closing out this game before Tyrese Haliburton just absolutely stole it. But I think I don't know what it is about this team, but like they just are like a normal good team in the regular season. Obviously, they had an elite second half to the season, and they rolled right through the playoffs. And we're like, how can the Pacers find a way to win? How can they keep this competitive? And they kept it competitive throughout, the game, right? And never got more than 15-point lead, right? And so that's, obviously 15-point lead is a lot, but it's not as much as it used to be, right? 15-point leads can be erased in 5 minutes. And we see this time after time with the Pacers. But, as we look ahead to a game 2, I feel like the Pacers got lucky. And, I don't know if it's lucky when they keep doing this, their elite clutch time play. But, you can't have 22 turnovers. And maybe that was just, them being, a little nervous for the moment. Uh, right? Can we say that, um, maybe in game two they're not going to be as nervous for the moments. They're ready. They've seen it. They have the win on, behind them. So maybe they can, build off of that. Can they get another game? Because if they can win 2 games in OKC, I mean, this might be one of the biggest upsets of all time. Maybe the biggest upset of all time. But, I'm not sure what, I made like a whole, I was taking notes during the game. I was trying to think, is the turnovers the problem with the Thunder, or the Pacers? Is it that they let SGA just go off without any help? Is it that maybe they, um I don't know. Is it like, I was thinking maybe it was just going to be, one of those things where, just not enough firepower, right? You stay in the fight, but you just come up short. But I mean, Tyrese Haliburton, I'm out of words to talk about what he's done in these playoffs, right? The one against the Knicks, the one against the Cavs, where a lot of that was actually Neesmith knocking down some shots. But now this one, Tyrese Haliburton, he has these up and down games where, especially against the Thunder, where the Thunder shut him off, and he's unable to, get production scoring wise, right? And he tries to get involved by making assists, but it's really hard when you don't get the ball to start with the play because you've been forced off of it to then come back and try and you know try and basically get into a rhythm late in the game after you've been off of it all game. And he just stays engaged. He doesn't try and fight it when the Thunder are doubling him, because that's how you lead to more turnovers. That's how you get sort of frustrated with yourself, and it game can run away. The Thunder can just run away with it, but he doesn't do that. Right? He lets Nimhard, which is a great, he doesn't turn the ball over. He lets like other guys like Pascal Siakam get his numbers. He lets guys like TJ McConnell, who's also does a great job of not turning it over, right? The turnovers, most of the turnovers in this game came from the bigs, right? In the first half, but most of the guards for the Pacers don't turn the ball over, so he doesn't let, as I said, he doesn't let it get to him. He just waits for his moment, and the moment comes, just a one shot to, stun a OKC crowd. Which, I'll quickly talk here about OKC crowd. I mean, I saw maybe 2 fans that were wearing Pacers jersey. Come on. We talk about this every day. Why are you being so soft that you are just not selling tickets to away fans from over, I think it's 100 miles or something like that? This is the shortest distance between 2 finals teams, I think, all time. And only 600 miles between Indiana and Oklahoma City. And you just won't, you feel so self-conscious that you're not going to sell tickets to opposing fans. You're a small market team anyway. It's not like these 2 teams, it's not like fans from out of the country, or even big markets like New York are actually coming to these games to watch the finals. So it's just your fans and Thunder fans that are at this game. So why do we really feel like there are not enough tickets for your fans? I just don't agree with that policy. Especially because I live in a big market, right? Boston. We're not afraid to let opposing fans come in. We have a good fan base that doesn't happen. So I don't know. But we'll wrap it up here. We'll have coverage throughout the NBA, throughout the playoffs, throughout the weekend here, previewing how the Pacers can steal another game, maybe, or maybe what can the Thunder learn from this. I don't know. We'll do a little bit of both probably on Saturday. or maybe we'll do it in our pregame, or yeah, our game 2 pregame show, which we will have live 30 minutes before the game. It's a 8 o'clock game, not a 8:30 game, so we'll start that 30 minutes early, and then obviously we will have a postgame show afterwards. But yeah, I will wrap it up here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Once again, the Pacers pull off one of the most ridiculous comebacks, and it's not even that it was like a ridiculous comeback in terms of its the scoring and the time. It was more that the Thunder were such a massive favorite that I'm just stunned how the Pacers pull off this. But yeah, follow on social media. You know, if you haven't already, go check out our pregame show from this game where we talk about the 3 keys for a Pacers to win, and they did mostly the exact. They got one. They got the 3-pointers, but the 2 in terms of stopping Shea and the turnovers, they lost those both. They did absolutely terrible on that, and still they found a way to win this. So like, just found a way to exploit OKC's flaws, and I don't know if it's going to happen again, but we'll have to wait till game 2 to find out. So yeah, until next time, go Pacers.